Okay, let's go to the good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chumash of the day, today's Monday, which is the second reading in the book of Exodus. We're holding chapter 1, verse number 18. Vayikra Melech Mitzrayim L'Malyodes, and the king of Egypt called the midwives. And he told them, what have you done this thing? And we gave life. You enabled the boys to live. So the midwives told the Pharaoh, the Jewish women, the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They are skilled midwives themselves. Before we come to them, before the midwife comes to them, they have children without us. So Rashi says over here, they are skilled as midwives, as skillful as midwives. Our rabbis interpret to mean that they, the Israel women, are compared to like chayes, they're like animals of the field, which not require midwives. As we know, they told them that they're compared to the Torah like animals. They're compared like a lion. They're compared like a bull, like a gazelle. So the Torah, so they said, listen, the Jewish people are compared to animals. So therefore, they don't need to have any midwives. So God benefited these midwives. And the people multiplied and they became very strong. So Rashi bestowed of goodness upon them, and he goes and explains Vayitav. He goes through all the places where the concept of Vayitav means that he gave them goodness. He gave them, and what was the Mahateva? Last Mahateva, what was the goodness? What are the benefit? And when it took place, when the midwives feared God, by Yasla and Batim, and he made houses for them. God rewarded them with houses. What does that mean? So now she says, Bati Kohuna V'Levio Malchus, the house of priesthood, the Levitic family, and the royal family, who are called houses. As written, he built the houses of the Lord and the houses for the kings. The priesthood and Levitic family came out from Yecheved, and Malchus and royalty came out of Miriam, as the Gemara states in Saita. Therefore, Pare saw that the midwives were not helping him. So therefore, he commanded on the entire nation, every Jewish boy that is born, throw him into the Nile. And every girl you should let live. So he issued a decree upon all of them as well. On the day Moses was born, his astrologers told the Pharaoh, today the one who will save them is being born. But we don't know whether he's Egyptian or he's an Israelite. But we see that he ultimately smitten through the water. Therefore, on that day he issued a decree upon Egyptians and said, every son that is born in Egypt today has to be thrown into the Nile. The truth is, they were semi-right. They didn't know, however, that Moses would ultimately be suffered because of the Meriva, when he hit the stone instead of talking to the stone. So Moshe Rabbeinu was punished because of water, and ultimately didn't go into Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, because of a situation that happened with the water. Chapter 2. Here you see how because over here we go back to before the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. So there's no chronological order over here. Levi. So a man, chapter 2, verse number 1. The man from Levi went, Vayikach his bas Levi, and he went and married a daughter of Levi. So this is talking about Amram and Yecheved. They got married. They were married already because they had already two children. They had Aaron and Miriam. So he had separated Amram, doesn't say the name over here, but we know it's Amram. Amram separated from her because of Pharaoh's decree. Pharaoh made a decree, every child should be died. So therefore the people started to divorce to each their wives. We're going to have children. So this is the meaning, and he went after his daughter's advice. The Medrash says that Miriam turned to her father. She was like a 3-year-old girl. She turned to her father and said, "You're worse than the Pharaoh. You're worse than the Pharaoh. Your decree is harsher than the Pharaoh," because Amram was the leader of the Jewish people then. And when he divorced his wife, everybody started to divorce their wives. So he said, "You're worse." So she told him that you're worse than the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh only decreed on the boys, and you're decreeing on everybody. You made it by divorcing your wife. You have now made a decree on all children, men and boys and girls. So he listened to his young daughter, and he married her again. He married his wife. And this was an amazing miracle that happened because Yocheved was 130 years old at that time. Amram must have been also in that age. So he married her, and Yocheved conceived at 130 years old. So she transformed to be a young woman physically, but she was actually 130 years old. Because Yocheved was born when they came to Egypt. Yocheved was born, that's how Rashi, the last week's Parsha, 70, number 70. There was really only 69 if you count it. Rashi says, Gemara says that Yocheved was born as they walked into Egypt. Yocheved was born to Levi. He had a baby girl as they came into Egypt, and she was Yocheved. So she was born when Yaakov came to Egypt. So Rashi says that then you must say that she was 130 years old at this time. For she was born when she came to Egypt between the walls, and they stayed in Egypt 210 years. We know that. When they left, Moses was 80 years old. So if you make the calculation, 210 minus 80, so you have 130. So she must have been 130 years old at that time. So when she conceived, she was 130 years old. Yet in the Torah, imagine it's Bas Levi. It seems like the man went out and married a girl, young girl. She was not a young girl. She was 130 years old. But she was young that she can conceive and to have a child. Vatari Isha Vatela Ben, so this woman conceived and she bore a son. Vateri Kitayv, and she saw that he was good. So she hid him for 3 months. So here, the word Kitayv. Rashi said, Kishenelad, when he was born, Nismala Habayis Kula, the entire house filled with light. And that's one of the reasons. There's other reasons. Moshe Rabbeinu was born circumcised. That's another way. And some people hold that she called him Tuvia. Kitayv, and his first name was Tuvia. That was his original name that was given. Tuvia. So she hid him for 3 months. Well, he knew he couldn't hide her any longer. So she had no choice. She took him, she made for him a basket, and she smeared it with clay and pitch. She put this child in the basket. She put it at the edge of the marsh, at the edge of the Nile. Now she says, why couldn't she hide him any longer? Because the Egyptians counted her pregnancy from the day that he took her back. So the second she got married, and he was the leader of the Jewish nation at that time. So when he got married, everybody knew that he got married. And the Egyptians there were spies in Goshen. They knew exactly, Amram got married. If Amram got married, he got married because he wants to have children. So they started to keep an eye on her. But she had him to 6 months. And it was called a zibula, they call it in Yiddish. It was born in the 7th month. So he was born early. So Yalda Shava Yeladet, she gave birth to him in the 7th month. Child may give birth after incomplete months. He was born early. And they searched after the 9th month. So that's why they had 3 months. They had to leave. We have 3 months. They didn't know that she gave birth because she gave birth early. So now, after 3 months, they started searching. They wanted information. So she had no choice but to hide him because they were after her. So she took a reed, Gama's reeds, right? Pitch on the outside and clay on the inside. Because she realized this is a righteous child. She didn't want to have pitch in the inside. And she put him in the marsh. This is an expression meaning in the marsh, similar to reeds of the and rushes. And then the sister Miriam stood from afar. Laida Mayesala, she wanted to know what would happen to him. What would be the end of the story? Because she was also a prophet. So here they put him in a basket in the middle of the water. What's going to happen with him? Verse 5. That day, the daughter of Pharaoh went down to the river to bathe. And her maidens were walking along the Nile. And she saw this basket. She saw the basket in the midst of the marsh. And she sent her maidservant, and she took it. So Rashi says over here, to bathe in the Nile, transpose the verse and explain it. Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe in it. Al Yad Hayar, next to the Nile. It's also an interesting expression. So Rashi says it's a Al Yad Hayar is in a little expression for hand because a person's hand is near himself, a yad. Our sages say in Saita Helecha is an expression of death. She went there to do something. She knew that she actually somehow that she converted. She went and she dipped into the Nile to do conversion. Behold, I'm going to die. They, her maidens, were going to die because they protested against her when she wanted to take the basket. The text supports them, the sages, because otherwise, why is it necessary to write? And her maidens were walking. Well, it was important to, and the maidens were walking along the Nile. What does it need to tell us? But Elechas, they went, in essence, they were both ready to die, her for the sake of this child, and then they went against her. As Amasa, Rashi says, her maidservant, she sent one of her maidservants to take the basket. But our sages in the Gemara say, as Amasa, she stretched out her own hand. She reached out with her hand, and her hand, a miracle happened, and her hand has continued to grow. The joints from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger is known as Amma, hence the cubit, bearing the name Amma, which is the length of the arm from the elbow to the finger. Following the rules of Hebrew grammar, however, we invoke as Amasa, which is Dagish in the Mem. These are intended as Amasa to mean her hand, that she stretched out her hand and her arm grew many cubits, Ames, so that she could reach the basket. Because nobody wanted to touch the basket. But Tiftach, she opened the basket. She saw this child. And the lad was crying. And she had mercy, compassion upon him. And she said, this is the one of the children of the Jews. Rashi said, who did she see? Vatiftach vatirehu. What else did she see? Vatirehu, she saw him. I mean, what does the pasuk mean? So that the simple meaning, she saw the child. Saw the child. But medrashe sheraim eshchina. She saw the presence of God with him. He was a 3-month-old baby, but he sounded like a child. His cry was much more mature than a cry of a 3-month-old. Now, the second Miriam saw her pick up the child, she ran to her. So she ran to the Pharaoh and she said to her, should I go and call you a wet nurse of the Hebrew woman? I'll get you a woman that you can hire, a Jewish woman, to nurse him. And she'll nurse the baby. So why did he do that? Why'd she do that? So what happened was, so she turned to many Egyptians that were around. They said, the baby's crying. He wants to be nursed. And no, he wouldn't nurse from any of the Egyptian women. Why? Why wouldn't he nurse? He was hungry. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was going to talk to the Eibishter. How can he nurse from an Egyptian woman? So that's why she ran over to her and said, listen, this child would not nurse from an Egyptian woman. This child would only nurse from a Jewish woman. So the daughter of Pharaoh said to her, Lechi, take her, go. It's a great idea. So the girl went. He called Yocheved, called the mother of Moshe. Called the mother. She ran, she got a Jewish woman. Who is the Jewish woman she got? Yocheved, its mother. She ran right away to get the mother. And she said, listen, you're going to be hired by the Pharaoh's daughter to nurse this baby. So the daughter of Pharaoh said to the mother, Yocheved, take this baby. I'm going to hire you. I want you to nurse him. I'm going to pay you for nursing this baby. So the Yocheved took her child, and she nursed him. So now she says over here, Helchi, she says, take her. She prophesied, but did not know what she prophesied. She said, in essence, this is yours. Take him, he's yours. She didn't realize he's talking to the mother, but she in essence said the truth. So she gave back the mother, she gave back the child to Yocheved. But now he had protection, he had royal protection, right? Because she was going to nurse him for a couple of years. And then she, as the Torah continues, she's going to have to bring him to her because it's her baby. She adopted this child. So the child grew up, but he veiled best parish. Yocheved had to bring him to the daughter of Pharaoh if he finished nursing. 2-3 years later. And she became his child. He became her child. And she, the Bas Pare, called Batya, her name is Batya, called her Moshe. Batema, she said, I call him Moshe, because I drew him from the water. My friends, Mazel Tov, we are introduced for the first time to Moshe Rabbeinu, that from now on in every parsha, from today until the end of the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioned in every parsha, besides in Atat Tetzaveh, and he's mentioned in every portion of the Torah. And here, the Eibishter rewards this girl, this Egyptian woman that he saved him, and that's why he's called Moshe, even though his mother gave him a different name. From the I draw him from the water, Mishisihu, the Tiger Rebbe Shlechtil, which is an Aramaic expression of drawing out. So here, the concept of Mishisu, he should have been called Moshe. Why is it called Moshe? Moshe means, because in essence, he said, I saved you to save others. I saved you. I'm Moshe. I drew you out of the water. I saved you, and now you're going to be Moshe. You're going to draw other people out of the water. And that's what Moshe stood for, and that was who Moshe was, and that completes the Chumash of the day. So, as I said 2 minutes ago, Mazel Tov, congratulations. We have been today introduced to Moshe Rabbeinu. Now go to the Tanya of the day. The Alter Rebbe is explaining the concept of a tzaddik, of a righteous person. And he's going to complete, explaining this concept and to impress upon us, really, as we come closer to the chapter 12 of Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe really wants to start explaining really what a Beinoni is, what a middleman is. So, if we can comprehend what a tzaddik is, we can understand what a Beinoni is, the struggles of a Beinoni. So, what is a tzaddik again? Alter Rebbe says a tzaddik is somebody who's gotten rid of evil from his existence, and evil is totally opposite of his existence. His existence is godliness. His existence is total servant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. His whole life is total purpose is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to serve God. And anything that's the opposite of that, he doesn't want to have anything to do with. If the person is not that way in any kind of a slightest deviance, that means he's a person that also serves God, but he doesn't totally hate things that are the opposite of God. Doesn't like him, doesn't hate him. Then he's missing this point. With tzaddik she'eina gomer, an incomplete tzaddik, who she'eina seina sitracha b'tapasim, is somebody who does not hate. Again, don't get stuck in the word hate, because that's not a good word. It's not a nice word. The concept over here is the aspect of that he dislikes the aspect of the opposite of holiness. We're using a harsh word, I believe, because you need to get it, because it needs to be understood. So therefore, we're using the word hate, but I don't believe that we should get stuck in the words over here, in the word hate. Some people get lost in the word hate. It's not a nice word, whatever. The Alter Rebbe is in essence explaining and wants a person to understand that, yes, therefore he does not find evil, which I'm not talking about sinning or doing negative. Physical desires and pleasures is evil. Meaning unpurposeful. A person, see, we cannot understand that. That's in our mind. Anything we think evil is somebody, killing somebody, somebody stealing from somebody. That is evil. Anything in the middle is nothing wrong. Not in Torah. Anything that has no purpose is evil. So wasted time is evil. Because there's no purpose in it. And you have to realize that. So you have a tzaddik, and that's why we're not even the mindset of a tzaddik. The mindset of a tzaddik is a concept of evil. See, we're so far from that mindset even, to even comprehend that. But you have to understand that that's a tzaddik. You understand now why a tzaddik, by him, something that has no purpose is evil. Therefore, a person that doesn't have this kind of a mindset, then to him evil is he doesn't hate it. Not disgusting to him. Doesn't do it. He shouldn't do evil. As long as it's hatred and his abhorrence of evil are not absolute, so then therefore, if you don't if it's something that's not totally against you, then you have something connected to it. There's some strings that you have connected to it. This is very strong, but the Alter Rebbe says the truth. And the truth is, if I don't, it's not most to me. If it's not something that is disgusting to me, it means that it's something that I can handle. Then if it's something that I can handle, it means that's something that I'm connected to it. I have some kind of an ava to it. I have some kind of affinity to it. I have some kind of a relationship to it, or with the capability of a relationship to it. That's why every tzaddik should be careful, because he never should trust himself. The Mishnah says, never trust yourself the day you die, even tzaddikim. Because the level of a tzaddik gomer is a very extremely high level. So even though a person might think he's a tzaddik because he never thinks evil, he never does any evil, but who says he has this concept of something that it's mars to him, that's something that's totally abhorrent to him, that he would never even think about doing it. He would never even have the potential. That nobody knows. Nobody. You have to be really sure with yourself to know you're on that level. That's why, again, going back to the beginning of Tanya, that's why the prophet says God saw that there were very few tzaddikim in the world. If you understand this, then you understand what it said in the beginning of Tanya, that God saw there was very few tzaddikim in the world, because to be a tzaddik in the Tanya is extremely very difficult. And God made sure that there will be a certain amount of tzaddikim in every generation, or even one tzaddik, right? So we have 36 tzaddikim, 72, or even one tzaddik. So out of billions of people, you have one righteous person that is such a person. Maybe, or 36 kind of people. It's a very difficult thing to be a tzaddik in the Tanya, to be a real tzaddik. Because you can be a tzaddik she'eino gomer. There can be a lot of tzaddik she'eino gomers out there. There can be a lot of incomplete tzaddikim out there. Therefore, the evil, the animal soul, has not actually been converted to good. Since he still holds on to his filthy garment, the person is not letting it go. Doesn't want to have anything to do with it, but he doesn't want to let it go. El Shubato, Baruch Hashem, as a tzaddik, she'eino gomer, not incomplete tzaddik, his good is more than even the potential of evil, and therefore his good puts his evil to sleep, as so to say. B'kalei choshev, and his evil is mamish like not there, but it is there. It is there. That's one of the reasons why, remember, you learn in Torah that God never wants to place his name even on the patriarchs. Right? Rashi says God doesn't trust anybody in the world. God doesn't. It's always possible for the person to go the opposite way. Every person has the potential to go a different avenue. God doesn't take away the free choice from the tzaddikim either. In essence, when you're a tzaddik gomer, you have almost lost your free choice because you're totally given over to God. So you've lost the free choice. You've given away your choice. That's what the Gemara calls these tzaddikim tzaddik veraloi. Tzaddik that has ra to him. Kafu v'botaloi. What means tzaddik veraloi? The tzaddik and he has bad to him. What does that mean? It means that the tzaddik, his bad is loy, belongs to him. His negative, he's in fully control of it. It's knocked out. He has put it to sleep. He has put it in a coma, but it always has the capability. That person knows that it always has the capability of coming back. And since he has the potential of doing evil, therefore ultimately his love of God is not complete. It's never complete. It's not complete. And that's why he's called an incomplete tzaddik. Now, we're still gonna. Alter Rebbe is not. He still wants us to understand this. He says, the concept of a tzaddik she'eino gomer, mischalekes l'ribis madreges. There's many levels of a tzaddik she'eino gomer. of an incomplete tzaddik. Myriads of levels. And it's really, the question is how much love and how much connection he has to the capability of evil. And there can be many, many myriads of levels in a tzaddik she'ein gomer. A tzaddik gomer is one level. A tzaddik gomer, he doesn't have evil. Finished. You can explain it simply. A tzaddik gomer, a complete tzaddik, is a person that is totally given over to God. He has no personal agenda. He has no personal interest. Tzaddik she'ein gomer is a question of how much interest he has in himself and how much less he has. How much love of God, how much commitment, how much committed he is, how much committed to himself. So is he 99, 1% selfish? Is he 98 and 2%, 97 and 3%? We could have many levels because this tzaddik she'ein gomer, this incomplete tzaddik, never does anything bad in his life. But the question is, how much potential of evil does he have? How much? 1%, 0.%. There's hundreds of levels you can go. So how minute remaining evil, how much evil is left there? How much evil is left in this tzaddik she'ein gomer? How much evil does he have? Does he have a lust? Does he have the capability of taivas? Does he have the capability of anger? Does he have the capability of, right? So tzaddik gomer cannot get angry. Tzaddik gomer doesn't have any desires in the world. Tzaddik gomer gets angry at evil. He doesn't get angry at anything but that. So what, right? So in one tzaddik, the remaining evil may consist of an element of water. In another, the evil may consist of the spark element of fire, and so on. So there's certain levels of quantity based on the type of remaining evil. Like it's unlimited. And that's what there might be a lot of tzaddikim out there like this, that they overcome their evil and they control it and totally sleep, but they still have the potential of evil. Push the wrong button and maybe it will awaken. So the subdivision also takes into account the degree in which the remaining evil is nullified in the good because of its minuteness. Like in 60 to 60 to 40, or be'elef or vava, or thousands and 10,000 and so on. And that's the level of tzaddikim that are numerous. There are a lot of tzaddikim in every generation. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of good people in the world. The Gemara says 18,000 tzaddikim stand before the Holy One, blessed be He. So there's a lot of tzaddikim in the world, Baruch Hashem. A lot of good people who basically they only do good, and they're spiritual people, and they're committed to good things, and then Baruch Hashem. Thank God. Doesn't mean they don't have the potential of evil, because they do have the potential. What's a tzaddik gomer? What we have, the statement of Shimba who said, the Yisa b'nei Aliyah, I've seen superior men, and they are very few. There are very few complete tzaddikim in the world. That's why they are called the children of ascent. Those people have transformed their evil. They have no evil. They don't have the potential of evil. Can you imagine such a person? A person that doesn't have the potential. Forget about that, he doesn't do evil. He doesn't have the potential. As we mentioned, the David HaMelech said, ultimately, I have eradicated my evil. I killed it with fasting. I have no evil. I've reached up to the level of a tzaddik gomer. I have no evil. I don't have evil. It's impossible to me to do evil. In essence, a tzaddik gomer means it's impossible for them to do evil. It's impossible. There's nothing that can get them to do something evil. If you can imagine such a situation. That's why there's very few people that are on the level of a tzaddik gomer in this world. As it's written in the Zohar, Rabbi Chia was a great tzaddik, wished to ascend to the Heichel of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He wanted to come in heaven. The Gemara says it was a great Tana, Rabbi Chia, who wanted to come in heaven. We're talking in Gan Eden. He wanted to come to the chambers of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he heard a voice call out and said, "Man marchan dichashcha ma'apchon leira." Whichever of you are becoming here have converted darkness of the world into light, and have transformed bitter taste of the animal soul of evil inclination to sweetness. In essence, the voice said, Rabbi Chia, you don't belong in this chamber. You might be a great tzaddik, but you're not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. You're not the tzaddik of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Only tzaddikim gemurim, only complete tzaddikim come in the chamber of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai reached a level where he transformed the world, transformed everything in the world into sweetness. Everything in the world was by him godly. Ultimately, everything in the world by him was good because it was godly. He had nothing to do with any negatives in the world. That was after he sat in a cave for 12, 13 years. Him and his son separated himself from the world. Not in a way that they became hermits from the world, but actually they separated themselves from the world and only saw the goodness in the world. They only saw the godliness in the world. And that's the tzaddik gomer. Tzaddik gomer is a person that doesn't see anything negative in the world. And when there is negative, it's simply something that hurts him terribly. And he cries out for the negative that's happening in the world. Cries to God that they should show the people the positive. Moshe Rabbeinu, as we introduced to Moshe Rabbeinu today, so-and-so was such a person. And that's why he struggled with the Jewish people through their journey in the desert and the journey through life, because he only saw the good in everything and they could not see it. They were a great nation, third day, but they just could not see. They also saw the negative in everything. And that's we are humans. We see positive and we see a little negative. If I'm a tzaddik gomer, I see since everything is godly, there's no negative in the world. Everything is godly. Everything is God wants in the world. And I don't see anything negative. I only see godliness. I don't see anything negative in this world. And if there's negative, then it's something that is in essence the opposite of it, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's not in my realm. It's out of my existence. It's a very, very high level, and self-understood again. It's a level that most of us, I told myself, impossible to reach on such a level. Because it's not, again, as I say, you're gonna learn in Tanya. That's not my avodah. That's not my obligation. The Eibush should send each and every person down to do their obligation. And that's why the Eibush to put tzaddikim in the world, that the world would exist on such great people. But then the Eibush to want the majority of people to be as, not even a tzaddik she'eino gomer, really maybe a beinoni, a middle person in the Tanya, as we're going to continue to learn the Tanya. So It's a very powerful thing we learned today because it's really high levels of in the aspect of humanity, of how high a human person can reach up to in life. How high can a human reach in life? That the Moshe Rabbeinu, you said about Moshe Rabbeinu reached up in life, in his life, that the Eibishter says testifies about Moshe Rabbeinu that he's the Moshe Rabbeinu of all life, and Vayaminu b'Hashem Moshe Avdei, that they're going to believe in God and in Moshe Rabbeinu. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. You can you imagine how much honor the Torah gives Moshe Rabbeinu? How much honor God gives Moshe Rabbeinu? It's unbelievable because Moshe Rabbeinu reached up to such a level, had the capability, self-understood, and that's why Moshe was an onav. Because Moshe Rabbeinu said that I became a tzaddik gamor is not because of my accomplishments. It's actually because God gave me that potential. Not everybody has that potential. So maybe if the Eibishter God would have given somebody else that potential, he would have also done better than me. So I am nothing special. God gave me the potential to be who I am. And thank God, it's not me, it's God who gave me that potential. And the Eibishter gives every person their potential. And that's where we should reach up to. So Moshe Rabbeinu reached his potential. He was also imperfect, as we know. We learned in Torah. Everybody knows the only perfection in the world is God. But he was perfect what the potential that he was supposed to reach up to. And still he felt that he was incomplete, that he could have done better. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu, like Kam Navi Kamoshe. I mean, all the titles that he's given in the Torah is like amazing. He has titles before his name and he has titles after his name. He's given unbelievable titles and still he felt incomplete. As we know, Moshe Rabbeinu felt incomplete. That he didn't finish the job that he came to do, which to bring the Jews into Eretz Yisrael. He felt that he was incomplete. He didn't accomplish it. So we're talking here about the Insan. We're talking about unbelievable people. They're human beings. Moshe Rabbeinu was a human being like me and you, but he reached up to the level of his potential, and that's his greatness. That even though he reached up to the level of his potential, he still felt that he could have done more. He should have done more. He could have done more. He should have done more. Because what's your potential? Your potential is God, so it's unlimited. Very, very powerful chitas. I think because every time I learn this chitas, I think to myself, like, why does the Alter Rebbe tell me this? Because I'm never going to be this, so why do I need to know this? But I think it's important that we should know this. We should know what the Eibishter gives of potentials to every one of us, and the Eibishter gave potential to Moshe Rabbeinu. And as we introduce to Moshe Rabbeinu now, well, we're going to learn him for the rest of the Torah, the rest of the year. Realize what the Eibishter gave potential Moshe Rabbeinu, and now what did God give my potential? What is my potential in this world? What did the Eibishter want from me? And that's going to be the rest of the Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe is going to say, what did the Eibishter want from me? I'm not going to be Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm never going to be Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm not on his level. I'm not on his soul level. I'm not on his capability level. But what does God want from me? And that's the Tanya. And that's what we'll continue to learn. We are holding on today, the 16th day of the month. My friends, today is the 16th day of the month. Open up a Tillim and say chapter 79, 80, 81, 82. 79 to 82 of Tillim. And you do the chitas of the day. And what could be better than to do the chitas of the day? And I wish you all a wonderful day. And Mir Shem, we'll see you Mir Shem tomorrow at 8 o'clock as we continue the Tanya, the Chita, the Chumash, the Tillim, and the Tanya of the day. Have a wonderful and beautiful